There are decisions that we make in life that are very simple, and then there are some that we really spend time considering. Starting a family is generally one of them. And if you're in that season of life where you are working and living and loving your life and think it's time to add somebody else to the mix, I have some advice for you on what to consider now and actions to take well before you ever start your journey for parenthood. And parenthood can happen in a variety of ways. Whether you yourself or your partner carries the child, whether you adopt, whether you have a surrogate, however you bring a child into your life and your family, things are going to change. And if you want to have a career that you continue to grow and cultivate while you're also growing and cultivating a human, then you're going to want to listen to this, because I give you a couple of simple steps that you can take well in advance to make sure that you're prepared for the adjustments that will happen over time. See, most people, when they talk about pregnancy announcement at work or an announcement that you're expanding your family, they focus on the immediate term. When is your last day in the office? How long are you going to be gone? Are you going to come back? That is just logistics. What you need to focus on is what you want your work life to look like after the new human is in your life. Here's what I mean. If you are currently working 5 days a week and extended hours, maybe you're really not done working until 7 or 8, or maybe you stop working at 5 and then you start working again later in the evening. Is that the schedule that you want to have when your family is expanded? Or maybe you go into the office on the weekends and maybe you pull some all-nighters occasionally. Is that really the life that you want to be living when you have a family? If the answer to these questions is no, I'm going to encourage you right now to think about exactly what you want your schedule to be. How many days do you want to be in the office? How many days do you want to be remote? How long do you want your commute to be? And at what time of day do you want the commute? What's your normal workday going to look like? Are you going to start at 8 or maybe 9? Are you going to end at 5 or 6 or 7? And have these conversations with the other person that's going to be parenting with you. Make sure that they have considered what their schedule is going to be like. And you need to take into account things like daycare drop-off, if that's a reality in your life. Maybe you want to start your workday at 9 in the morning, but daycare could be an extra half an hour, 45-minute process, which means you need to be out the door by 7:45, which means that you need to get up, you just start working your way back. So consider what you want your schedule to be. That's the first tip from me. And make sure that you include everybody that's in your life in that conversation so that you can make sure that your schedule is well understood and their schedule is well understood. And then the second tip is make that schedule adjustment now. Don't be dramatic. Don't go into the office and say, guess what? One day in the future, we're going to have a family, and so now I need to start working less. That's not what I'm suggesting. What you can do is take one step at a time. If you know that in the future you aren't going to want to work nights, then slowly stop working nights. If you know in the future that you don't want to work on a Saturday, then stop working on the Saturdays. Making the adjustments now, while your life is stable and everybody at work understands your circumstances, will then mean that they just see you making an adjustment of your priorities. If you wait and make the adjustment when you've announced that your family is expanding, they're going to label that as a change due to parenthood. And that's not what's happening at all. You are making a choice that you want to live your life differently. You are making a choice that you have different priorities. So decouple the life event from the choices that you're making about how you want to live and work. My second tip to you is for you to really understand your state's specific laws around parental leave and your company's policy. Here's what I mean. Some states are very generous and others give you very little time, like 2 weeks. And If your state is generous or not generous, you know that you're going to want a certain amount of time at home to bond with the new family member. And the way that that happens is by taking vacation. So if you know that in the next year or 18 months, you plan to expand your family and you're going to be taking extended leave, the other thing that you want to consider is saving up your vacation if you're able to, based on your company and state laws, and protect that time, that paid time off, to add to as much time at home as possible. What you don't want to do is plan a really big 3-week European vacation in the same calendar year that you're going to be welcoming a new family member, because then those 3 weeks, when you used it for a fabulous vacation, and it's 3 less weeks that you have with the new human in your life. So the second tip is really understand your timing, understand the laws and the company policies, and then understand how you can leverage all of your benefits. Paid time off, sick time, short-term disability, so that you can have as much time as you want away from the office, bonding with your new family member as possible. And then my third tip to you is to consider very specifically what you want your career to look like as you bring new family members into your life. Are you wanting to stay on a growth path? And do you want to advance swiftly and quickly up the ranks of your organization or another organization? Or are you happy with where you are and you want to be the best that you can be at the level that you're at? This is important to consider now, because when the new family member comes, you're going to be stressed for years and years and years and years. Take it from me. I'm 14 years in, and if I had done this work earlier on, I would have had so much clarity around what my priorities are. So now consider, as you grow your family, how your career fits into that. Is it a means to an end, a paycheck to make ends meet? Or is it something that's important to you because you love your work and you want to grow and develop and be successful and achieve certain titles or achievements, etc.? By being clear around what you want your career trajectory to look like before the human comes in, you can decide when to put your foot on the gas and when to lay off. You can decide when you want to accelerate and when you want to hold back. You can decide if you really want to be on a growth path or not. And here's the thing about this is you're making decisions now before you know the person. So when that person comes into your world, you may change your mind, and that's okay. But this information is important because when you communicate to your employer that you are expecting a new family member, the very first thing that they're going to ask you is how long are you going to be gone? And then they're going to ask you if you're going to come back, and then they're going to ask you what your plans are for the future. And by understanding with clarity long before you know the timeline of the new family member coming to join you, you will be able to communicate to your leadership what your plan is. This will be done with little emotion and with confidence and with certainty. And you will be able to have a good conversation for where you won't get duly influenced to do something other than what you really want to do because the decision had been made months or years in advance. So if you are considering expanding your family or welcoming somebody new for the very first time, these are the things that I would recommend that you consider and take action on. Adjust your schedule now for what you want your schedule to be like when the human gets here. Do it long before there's ever an announcement, because then it's just you shifting your priorities and has nothing to do with a life change. Understand the policies and the laws in place for where you are, and then leverage all of your benefits, paid time off, sick leave, short-term disability, to take as much time as you personally want to spend with the new family member when they arrive. And then the last thing is get really clear on your career priorities and objectives so that when you make the announcement, you can with confidence explain what you plan to have the next steps look like and how you will show up as an employee after their arrival.